So we'll move on to redesigning nuisance vehicles. This is what you're all here for then, apparently. So that was a little bit of a tangled mess of uncertain processes, a lot of legwork for our back office team as well, and a lot of sharing information between different systems, between different services. It was hard to find the right channel, as you can see. So a user would go to Google and say, I want to report a problem vehicle on Medway, in Medway. So we would be offering them up 2 different avenues to come into the process. If they picked the wrong one, their report might go to the wrong team or not be actioned at all, or they'd get no information. And it just wasn't very easy to find, as most of you identified. It was really unclear what the purpose of those pages and those processes were as well. So we were putting an awful lot of information on the website, and it was difficult for people to kind of navigate their way through. It also assumed that people knew our internal structure and organisational chart. And we were surfacing that to residents and saying, oh, well, to do this, you need to go over here and talk to these people. And they're like, I don't know, I just want to tell you one thing and get it done. And then residents were developing their own workarounds. So they were gaming the system. They were going backwards in the form and they were changing their answers because they knew they'd hit a dead end if they said this particular thing. So then they'd go back and change that answer, or they'd phone the contact centre, or they'd try and kind of get around it. So we were really kind of looking at a way that we could standardise and give the organisation principles that we were going to work with while we were designing our new services. And we went with Lou Downs' 15 principles of good service design. And I'm not going to go through all of those because it's just too much. But there were 6 that we kind of picked out that were fundamental to what we wanted to do. The first one was going to be easy to find. So the service should be effortless for people to locate, even if they don't know council jargon. It should clearly explain the purpose from the get-go. It must be obvious what it is that they can do within that service and what we will do and what the expectations as us as an organisation is. It should require no prior knowledge to use. It should be agnostic of organisational structures. And it should encourage the right behaviours, and not just from residents, but also from the staff that are within that service and delivering that service. And also respond to change quickly. So we all know legislation, government and stuff can change relatively quickly in local government, sometimes not so much. But if you think back to the pandemic, we were using Jadu during the pandemic, so we were able to change and respond to those kind of changes quite quickly. Here we go. Has that changed? No, here we go. Okay, so we've redesigned our service now, and everything is in central one place. So this is the landing page that you'll now see at medway.gov when you want to report a nuisance vehicle. And this is a pattern that we're going to be moving across the entire reported services that we provide. So a resident will see what it is that they can do on this web page, and then they'll see a map as well with the Medway boundary. And within that map, they'll be able to see reports that have already been plotted that people have given us and told us about. So we've made it easy to find, and we've made the purpose very, very clear. It's very easy to see what you can do on this web page. Zoomed in version of the map here. And then before you make a report, so the pin drops are clickable, and you can click or hover over those pin drops, and it will surface information about that report for the resident. So they can see what type of report it is, they can see when it was reported, they can see the status, and they can see information about the thing that has been reported. And that is, for us, an effort to stop duplication getting to our officers, so that they know we are already aware of that. They can also subscribe to updates through that, which isn't shown on this screenshot because the URL wasn't there. But they click on a URL and they can put their email address in, and they'll get updates as that report progresses, as the initial reporter would as well. So we have now reduced down manual work for our officers with this new reported system by 75%, which I think is a bit of a bit of a gain, really. They can get out and they can do the things that they want to do rather than sit there and say, duplicate report, not in the Medway boundary, go off and do this, go off and do that. So as part of this, we're also now integrating we're leveraging the DVLA API lookup, and we're doing live lookups of vehicles within the form and pulling that information back and surfacing it to the customer during the form. So we're not saying to them, as we did in that old process, go to the DVLA and see if that is taxed or MOT'd. We're actually doing that for them. If the vehicle is untaxed, and we've got some logic working behind in the background in the form, they'll see a message that says exactly this: the vehicle details you provided are for an untaxed vehicle. Click continue, and what happens then is the central form will submit and create a Connect case. That Connect case then automatically emails the DVLA all of the information about the vehicle that the customer has provided. So we're not telling them to go and report it to the DVLA, we're saying we'll do that for you, and it happens instantaneously. If they select during the form, because we're also capturing information about the illegally parked vehicles, if they've answered a question within the form that it's over a dropped curb, the first thing we'll say to them is, you need to phone this number, don't submit this form. Nothing's going to happen if you get this form submitted, because we know, frustratingly for customers, if they get all the way through a form and they've given us all the information and then they press submit and they get an email that goes, oh, thank you for that, but can you phone this? It doesn't work for them. So we're trying to make it much better. So this is our live page, and as you can see, we've got our Medway boundary map here, and click in. Can you not see the same thing? No? Okay. I clicked on a dot that said 7 earlier that you didn't see, and now there's 2. So I'll click on this one and show you what happened that you didn't see. And that zooms out, and it drops us onto a pin. And you can see when you hover over it, it says illegal parking awaiting investigation. If I click on it, it tells us what the case type is in CXM, the date it was reported, the reference number, car make, model, registration, and then if I click on here, it opens a new central form and I can put my email address in there. I'm not going to do that because I get enough emails as is. So we go back here. So our web page is now nicely organised, and at a glance, a user can now see all of the things that they can do here, but if they need to go off to somewhere else, we signpost them off quite quickly. So our call to action, hopefully, is going to work. And this is part of our reported service pattern. The first thing that a resident will see when they're going to use a report it form is where is it? And this will be using the component that comes out of the box from the forms package, which is you can use my current location, drop a pin, or put in the postcode. I don't know what the postcode is here. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is going to help. There we go. So I can move the pin, provide additional information about landmarks, and then it will confirm with us the location that we've presented to the customer, because we found that when we went out to users and they dropped the pin, they were like, I don't know where I've dropped it. So the next thing we needed to do, and that was something that would have been completely overlooked when we were designing it. So again, I can move backwards and forwards between that and change it if I need to. We've got the option to upload photos if we'd like to, so you can see we're using that one question per page kind of pattern if it's relevant. And then we go to doing a live lookup. And this is when we find out whether or not my car is taxed and MOT'd. Yes, yeah, we're good. Okay, so then now I can carry through the form. So if it had come up as untaxed, I'd have been booted out and I'd have been in trouble. And then we ask those kind of qualifying questions. So there's logic running behind this as well. So if they say it's parked in a disabled bay, but it's not, and it's providing a parking permit, it could be that it's illegally parked or it's an abandoned vehicle, but there is a lot of logic that is behind this that you have to kind of unmap. So once I've submitted that form, this is then creating the cases that you can see in the Connect product, and we've got colour-coded case types and statuses there. So you've got the top one is an illegal parking report, the bottom one is an abandoned vehicle one, and then the next one does not meet criteria. So that's been taken through the entire process. It gives our officers a really clean and simple customisable work queue because these columns are customisable. We can say what information we want pulled out so they can go through and quickly, at a glance, see if it's relevant and do those desk-based triages. We send automated emails to people based on prescriptive parts during the process. These two you can see is you have submitted an illegal parking report, and then we tell them what will happen next. So we'll review the information you've submitted, and if need to, an officer will go out and investigate. So we set that expectation, but we also inform them at every part of the journey. And then the next one is, it didn't meet it because it's not in contravention. So that's something for the service to kind of improve on, because that doesn't really tell the user very much why it's not in contravention. But this is another thing that we've been able to do. Previously, these kind of things weren't available to us as people designing the system in the background. We weren't able to see what our colleagues were actually sending out to residents, so therefore we weren't able to identify more pain points. It's given us better data to go into service areas and say, actually, you're probably putting a blocker in here, or you're probably causing a bit more of an issue unintentionally. And that's it. That's what it looks like with your email rules in the Connect system. So that brings us to the end of the nuisance vehicles part. Thanks.